Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rex Rants. Well, that might be a little misleading. This isn't a movie that I hate, but I think is overrated. Here's a good question. Have I ever been wrong about something? A movie or anything in general? As totally unlikely as that sounds, there is a super rare occasion when I do change my mind about something.
You know we're gonna have to print a retraction now.
I haven't printed a retraction in 20 years!
Yup, Spider-Man Homecoming. Probably the most overrated movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, next to Iron Man. Ever since it came out last summer, it has received tons of praise, with some even calling it the best Marvel movie, which it isn't, and the best Spider-Man movie, which it also isn't. Neither by a long shot. Okay, so remember like 5 seconds ago when I said I changed my mind about Homecoming? Well, kind of. Looking back, my initial impressions were definitely onto something. I commented that it's a pretty good movie, but is certainly missing something. I made a whole icing and cake analogy that Homecoming was just a well-baked cake, good characters, one of the MCU's best villains, and a compelling narrative, with no icing, action, and visual spectacle. Well, I was wrong, or at least why I feel how I do about the movie has changed. I'm actually kind of proud that I called it out before many others for lacking emotion, weight, and any impressive action set pieces. With those first two, after many moons of thinking, additional viewings, and seeing what others had to say on the matter, I think I finally understand why I was so underwhelmed walking out of that theater. Again, I still find it good, but lacking, overrated. So what went wrong with Homecoming, and why does it pale in comparison to some other superhero flicks? Let's dust off Spider-Man and take a look.
There is no emotion. There is peace.
Yup, that pretty much sums it up. This is the main misstep with the new Spider-Man that will seep into other aspects of it, as we'll see later. Unlike previous Spider-Man and MCU films, Homecoming is far more focused on being a funny comedy than a compelling, thought-provoking drama. For the purposes of a fun, lightweight, summer popcorn flick, this works well, but if you're going to claim this to be as amazing as it is, well,
you gotta do better than that!
So many times, Homecoming actively avoids dramatic moments and intense discussions, instead always going the comedic route. Like, seriously, Aunt May has just discovered that her innocent, dweeby nephew is Spider-Man, a masked vigilante who goes face to face with thugs and arms dealers. This should be such a pivotal moment in Peter's journey, but it's just used to get the audience to laugh one more time before the credits roll. Another example would be the Washington Monument scene. Peter's best friend Ned, his crush Liz, and teacher are about to drop to their deaths in an elevator due to his actions. Something that can scar this teenager for the rest of his life gets the same treatment as essentially everything else.
Okay guys, I know that was scary, but our safety systems are working.
The safety systems are completely failing.
We're very safe in here.
The occupants are in imminent mortal danger.
Don't get me wrong, comedic levity is a great thing when used correctly, especially for the super fun character Spider-Man, but too often it comes at the expense of the tension, the drama, leaving Homecoming feeling almost weightless most of the time. Which, again, good comedy, but previous Marvel movies have been really funny while also having a lot of heart at their core. Just look at Ant-Man. Yeah, Luis's storytelling moments are hilarious, but at the center, it's about Scott Lang wanting to reconnect with his daughter. So you can be silly and heartwarming at the same time. But Homecoming just chooses to be silly. On the rare occasion the movie tries to get heavier, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Tom Holland is perfect for the role. He truly embodies the fun, youthfulness of Spider-Man and the MCU as a whole. This was literally the first time in 13 years that we didn't get some strange emo version of Peter Parker, which is baffling to say.
Damn door!
This dude's performance is definitely one of the best things in Homecoming. The problems come in the writing. Peter Parker gets no growth. Well, he goes from dying to be an Avenger to giving it up because stay in school, kids. But even this minuscule arc gets walked back in Infinity War when he's knighted as an Avenger anyways to his excitement. So, yay? Back in Homecoming, Peter doesn't really grow because he never needs to grow. He never gets any sort of punishment for his decisions or mistakes. There are 0 consequences. Everyone lets him get away with everything. Peter contributes to the not as cool Mr. Aziz's deli getting blown up, but by sheer luck, no one gets hurt, no one's mad at him. Ned doesn't care at all that Peter ditched him at Liz's party. The academic team gladly welcomes him back after he bailed on them. Liz doesn't care he abandoned her at the homecoming dance. When that conversation comes around, her dad's already been jailed, so she's more concerned over that than yelling at Peter. And when he returns home late, leaving Aunt May worried sick all day, he gets nothing because, I lost the Stark internship. There are even more examples throughout the film, but I think you get the point. Nothing forces him to change. Now compare this to the great Spider-Man 2, where drama and comedy are meshed perfectly into one. It's still very funny and enjoyable, but never shies away from the heavier material. The entire first act is about how Peter Parker always has to pay for his actions. The consequences for being Spider-Man are numerous and unforgiving because that's what makes Spider-Man so relatable. He's the one who fails to juggle all his responsibilities, with money problems, who can't hold a steady relationship, who gets fired, who faces consequences constantly. Tom Holland's incarnation doesn't have these problems. If he did, then Homecoming wouldn't be the lightweight, gut-busting comedy it wants to be, according to whomst ever wrote the screenplay. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you viewers are ready to yell at me, but Peter lost the suit. He had to come of age, prove himself worthy of the Spider-Man name without Karen and Stark Tech. My problem is that it's not really Peter who ever has to change. It's Tony. Tony is wrong, not Peter. After the first Vulture encounter, Stark be all like, nah kid, you're out of your league. Second encounter, same thing. You can't do this, bruh, give the suit back. Then in the end, it's just, I guess he can't handle this. I was wrong. See, there's never a change within Peter throughout the plot. He keeps going for Vulture until he wins in the end. No need for change because he's always right anyways, which is why the rubble scene fails. When Peter is trapped under the collapsed building and has to lift it off his shoulders, it doesn't mean anything. It's literally just him lifting rubble. He was never insecure about himself. He never doubted that he truly deserved the man in Spider-Man. He always knew that he would catch the Vulture. It's just Stark who didn't know. And even working with that, Tony forgets how well Peter can handle himself as he babies him in Infinity War.
When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you.
So the comedic focus comes back around to hurt the movie the few times it tries to be about something. Spider-Man Homecoming refuses to try when it comes to the side characters. It intentionally chooses not to develop Peter's relationships with the people around him. A prime example is Peter and Ned's friendship. We don't know anything about them, why they're friends, how they met, or anything like that. Ned is mainly here just for the purpose of being a comedic sidekick, but we don't have any insight besides that and their secret handshake. There aren't ever those best friend moments where we see how connected they are. The same problem comes with Liz. There's never any connection established between her and Pete to get us to root for them to be together. Nah, that would take too much work. Instead, she's just Peter's crush who he likes staring at. There's nothing here besides that. Aunt May is just eye candy for creepy side characters, and baby's Peter. Yes, it's funny, but she no longer serves as his moral compass or voice of reason as she so famously has before. Uncle Ben is slightly referenced, but has no presence throughout Peter's journey, despite normally being his main motivation, because we can't write anything about Uncle Ben in our fun summer comedy. And this isn't me saying to do the origin all over again. You can't. That was already done flawlessly and comically bad before. but you'd think his influence would be far more present. The focus on staying super light and fun, although succeeding in its goal, undermines the characters constantly, making them less interesting and engaging. There are no consequences. Peter just learns a small lesson about staying in school, no relationships are explored, and the supporting cast never get anything of substance to do. Countless times before, films have proven that you can have a good laugh and be dramatic simultaneously, but Homecoming is too afraid to do anything of real substance with its vast array of potentially interesting characters. Don't get me wrong, Spider-Man Homecoming is a pretty good movie, far better than the 3 attempts that came before it. There are a lot more positives and negatives I have with it, but I decided to just focus on this main point. Homecoming is not a great movie because it's perfectly content with not trying to be great. As long as you can get the audience to laugh, they'll walk out believing they've just seen a great film. That's all it takes for many viewers, and Homecoming knows that. This is why I first walked out of that theater on opening night feeling empty. Yeah, it definitely is funny and enjoyable, but I wasn't given a down on his luck Peter Parker who fails time and time again. There were no deep conversations between Peter and the few people who actually like him. There's nothing to the romance, the friendships, or the family drama. All that is put on the back burner in order to deliver one more laugh. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like and subscribe.